What's going on, Duke fans? Just Jack today. Unfortunately, JD can't make it today. A little bit of a health scare, so hoping everything goes well for JD. To break the fourth wall, he is my dad, so on a personal note, really hoping that things turn out well for him on this New Year's Eve. And so, with that out of the way, I want to get into the game, which was certainly led by Cooper Flagg. And Cooper Flagg was outstanding today. And he had the first 8 Duke points in this one. He was all over the place defensively. He had, I believe it was, let me check the notes here. He had, what was it, 6? Yeah, 6 assists to lead Duke today. He had 4 steals. The only thing he didn't do well, which he typically does, is rebound the ball. He only had 3 rebounds, but there's a reason why, and we'll get to that in a little bit. He was fantastic, and not only was he really good offensively, he even got a couple of his threes to go down. 2 for 4 from 3, 4 for 4 from the free throw line, and Duke got off to a slow start and really needed Cooper Flagg to kind of keep them not in the game, but keep them afloat. Because early on, they just didn't have a good rhythm, whether that was the starters or initially when they brought in some guys off the bench. They just couldn't seem to find a good rhythm early in this game. But the more time went on, the more Duke was able to take advantage and take control of this basketball game. And there was a moment in this game. It was kind of going a little bit back and forth. It was at a slower tempo. Things really kind of, for all intents and purposes, were going Virginia Tech's way. Just because they were in the game. That's all they could ask for coming into Cameron, especially with the way the season has gone for Virginia Tech. It was a good start for the Hokies. And they had some good things from guys off the bench, like Rodney Brown got off to a good start for them. I'm surprised he didn't get more minutes in this game, but I've only watched a couple of their games in fairness. The moment, though, was when Cooper Flagg hits the three-pointer and is fouled and gets the 4-point play. Because before that, Duke was down 16-14. After that play, it turns in from 16-14 Virginia Tech, it turns into being 31-18 Duke. It was a real momentum shifter. And then the next play after the Cooper Flagg 4-point play, Duke was able to force a trap along the sideline with freshman point guard Ben Hammond, who I thought overall did a decent job in this game, but he couldn't really get anything going. His lack of size was really an issue against Duke's size, and as it will be with a lot of smaller guards who aren't confident enough to just create their own shot using their quickness, because there are opportunities to score against Duke off the dribble. And it was just a tough game for Ben Hammond in that sense. 31-18. And then after that, there was a moment where Virginia Tech kind of got back into it, and they got to 31-24. But then Duke closed the first half well, and then opened the second half well as well. And we're just kind of able to cruise for the rest of the game. Sion James was excellent in this game. He had a career high in rebounds with 11. He had a double-double, 10 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. He did a really good job harassing Ben Hammond, making it difficult for him to bring up the ball. And then that just led into, the rest of Duke's defense with Tyrese Proctor shadowing Jaden Schutt, because the one thing that Virginia Tech had done a good job of in previous games was running Jaden Schutt off of screens and getting him open for threes. And Schutt could not. There was 1 or 2 times he was able to get an open look, but for the most part, Proctor was sticking to him, as he has been doing all year long, in the past as well. But really this year, I feel like his consistency on both ends of the court has really stepped up. And even early on this game, the shot wasn't falling for Proctor, but I thought he was playing really well. and he had three dunks. The second one was humongous. The first one was pretty good as well. And he was just attacking today, which I love to see. He was very aggressive. He did eventually hit the three. The three-point shot hasn't been falling for Proctor the past couple of games. And so you start to wonder whether the start of the season he was just on a real hot streak, because he is, a little bit below 40% for his career. He's kind of tracking back towards that number. But I do think he's going to get into a better rhythm and start to knock down more threes. Let's go back to Cooper Flagg, because I spent a little bit of time on him to start here, and I don't think I spent enough. He was just that good today, and he scored in a variety of ways. Like I mentioned, he hit a couple of threes. He scored in and around the basket. We missed his first layup coming over from the Georgia Tech Notre Dame game, so missed the first layup that he got. But his second bucket, they had him run off of a screen along the baseline. His guy went over the top, and he said, I'll just stay right here. And he got an easy dunk and one from that play. He got a number of steals in the passing lanes, which were then either he got the bucket, or more often it led to an easy bucket for one of his teammates. He had a nice pass to Sion James on one of those plays. He just was everything and everywhere for this Duke team today, coming off of for him, a mediocre performance where he had like 13 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, something in that realm. And Duke, as I said, kind of came out a little bit flat today. Understandably so, hadn't played in 10 games, maybe a little bit rusty in the midst of, your Christmas, New Year's break. So and the opponent at home, you certainly understand why that was the case. But Cooper was needed to carry the flag, if you will, early on in this game, and he certainly did so, and allowed the rest of the team to kind of find their flow and get into the rhythm of the game. And speaking of that, Con Knipple didn't really score much in the first half, but he did finish with 13 points. He hit a 3 in the first half. He missed his first 3 shots. I like that he was aggressive. There were a couple of threes that he took today, which, in my opinion, were a little bit uncharacteristic of Con, in that his feet weren't quite set when he shot them. Typically, he does like to be set before he shoots. So that was, again, a little bit unusual for Con Knipple. However, I will take it because he was very aggressive, and I just love to see that, because he is one of the best shooters, not just on this team, but probably in the conference. And then that brings us to the last starter here, which was Kaman Malawach, who had an interesting game, because we've been talking. I've been talking. I know one of our listeners, Lawrence Freeman's been talking. Feed the big fella. And the past 3-4 games, Duke has been doing a really good job of getting the ball to Kaman Malawach. And today, they did a good job of getting the ball to Kaman Malawach. He just couldn't catch it. It was the darndest thing, because he typically has really good hands around the basket. And today, he just really struggled. I don't know what it was. He couldn't catch the ball around the basket. Yes, you could quibble with 1 or 2 of the passes. Maybe they could have been better. But I thought for the most part, the passes were pretty good. Him and Gangba, when he got some minutes towards the end of the first half, just struggled at catching the ball. Again, for Malawach, really uncharacteristic of him. They finally were able to connect with an alley-oop flag to Malawach near the end of the second half, about the 8-minute mark. With all that being said, though, it didn't affect his defense. His defense was still as good as ever, blocking 3 shots too early in the first half, a deterrent around the rim. Who knows how many other shots, weren't taken because of that. Only 4 rebounds, but with Sion James snatching up 11 of them, it's understandable why that was the case. And Duke out-rebounded Virginia Tech as a team 35-22. So really not much to quibble about there. And speaking of the stats, so here's the rest of the team. So really Duke has been playing with a 9-man rotation for the most part this season. I shouldn't say that. For the most recently. That's a better scratch what I said before. For the past handful of games, we've been playing with a 9-man rotation. And today, guys 6 and 7, and Malik Brown has been in 6, 7, 8, whichever order you want to put him in. He's been one of the first guys off the bench, and that's not going to change as the year goes on. He is, the 1-2 punch with Kama Malawach at the center position. I thought Malik Brown was good today, but not quite as disruptive as he has been in previous games defensively. He had a chance to get himself over his average of 3 points. He did miss a makeable layup, but he did get 2 points today. He was not credited with a steal. He almost had one, but ended up being a turnover near the basket, which led to a Virginia Tech bucket. The next guy, or the guy who came in with him into this game, was Caleb Foster, who didn't score from the field. He did knock down a pair of free throws, which was nice to see. Caleb knocked down both free throws. He did have a couple assists, but he also had a couple turnovers. He responded really well to moving to the bench initially. Hasn't been as great since then. I do think today, though, if you can look past the numbers, I thought his play was better than it had been the past couple of games. And that brings us to guys 8 and 9, Isaiah Evans and Mason Gillis. Evans got off to a slow start, missed his first 3 threes, and then made his next 4. The guy is unbelievable. He is just constantly ready to shoot. You will never have to tell Isaiah Evans to shoot the ball. He's always ready to shoot. He's always willing to shoot, and that is why his role has grown as the year has gone on. And in this game, let's see here, he did play 17 minutes, which is pretty cool. Let's see, Cooper and Proctor led us, rightfully so, with 30 minutes in this game, followed by Sion with 26, Khan with 25, Foster with 19, Brown with 18, Evans with 17, Malawach with 15, and Gillis with 10. And speaking of Mason Gillis, he's been coming on as of late. He hit 2 3-pointers in this one. The shot's been looking better. He's been scoring around the rim, affecting the game with some rebounding, particularly offensive rebounding. And while he was a steady presence the first couple games of the season, he had a little bit of a rough patch in the I would say it was like games 4 and 5, somewhere in that range. The game specifically, Arizona and Kansas, where I didn't think he played well. But since then, I think he's been slowly and steadily improving. And today, he did end up in double figures, joining Isaiah Evans off the bench to be the second Blue Devil off the bench in double figures and the 6th overall in this game. So you had Cooper Flagg with 24, Tyrese Proctor with 13, Con Knipple with 13, Sion James with 10, Isaiah Evans with 12, and Mason Gillis with 10. So it was just a really okay. It was a Cooper Flagg dominated performance, but outside of that, it was really well-rounded team effort as the game went on. And it was just a good team win that I think is going to be really important as we, move forward into conference play, as we get into this next game against a good SMU team, which is currently 11-2, and it will be a test for the Blue Devils. As I believe, let me double check before I say this, it will be on the road. Yes, on the road this coming Saturday at 2:15 Eastern Time. So be sure to check that out in the post game afterwards. We'll be live somewhere around 4:15, 4:30, and we'll be making our preview for that game on Thursday. So make sure to check out that game. But a good, solid ACC victory for Duke. The only people unhappy in this game, outside of Virginia Tech fans, are Duke bettors, who had a tough break at the end of this game, with Duke being up 26 points, needing to win by 25. Darren Harris, good for Darren Harris to get a couple minutes at the end of this game. Happy for him, but I'm sure people who bet on Duke were not very happy with him as he fouled a 3-point shooter, which ended up making it so Virginia Tech could hit a few free throws and cover the spread. So with that being said, I'm really looking forward to this SMU game. I think, after this, Duke also, so this will be a more competitive game, especially on the road. And then they'll have Pittsburgh, which is one of the top 5 teams in the conference, in my opinion. Should be another good game. So stay tuned for the preview of the SMU game, which will be this Thursday. I'll be sure to get that out. So see you guys next time. If you're new, subscribe to the channel. Like this video. It helps us grow. Leave a comment. We want to hear from you. And share it with your Duke basketball friends. I'll see you guys on Thursday. Peace.